Okay, we're back. Back in the saddle again. We're back. Okay, there we go. So, earlier today, I came and, oh, it just showed me that, I've started. Okay, so I sent something responding. Bingo. There we go. So, earlier today, I did a stream where I talked about the digital process of painting. And so this page that's on screen now is, let's just make it smaller so you can see the whole thing. So what this is, the process here, is originally there's the sketch in pencil. And so what came from that is I sat down and I picked and chose and put together the line art for this, which really isn't much different, and just tighten it up. So there we go. And what I followed up with doing with that was I put a base color underneath, just to sort of give me a really solid sense of where the composition is, like the different frames and how those relate to one another in space. And so what I sat down to do was to sit down and to start coloring it and digitally painting over top of it. Linda says, "Hi, I caught the end of your morning." Oh, it's fantastic. Hi, Linda. Welcome aboard. Hiya, Tim. Um, so, so there we go. So there's the top of it. It's all painted on one layer, and so what I'm going to do is zoom us in a little bit, and so we've really only worked on the top three panels at all, and so the idea here is based on the suggestion of a type of Gulliver's Travels. But basically it's, Chris, what's your version of Gulliver's Travels? And there we go. So it's a silly one. And the way that I've got the characters set up so far is, I don't know what that means. So the way I've got the characters situated in space is that I've done the background ones, background scene, but we've got all these people in the foreground to put in now. So there's a couple of ways I can do that. I can try to strip back the areas in the foreground that I've painted over by taking an eraser tool and trying to clean up these lines, these areas. I don't tend to find that that's going to be effective. And quite honestly, I've been doing this whole project with no, backstepping and cleaning up mistakes. I've got one brush. It's 18 is the setting for my brush. I'm working at 50% opacity, or 49%. This morning was 48, so radical change. And I've got a limited palette that you can see on the side of the first panel, and I'm just painting the whole thing. So like the kids do, back in the cool places, wherever those are, that I'm not invited to. So I think I fixed that camera. Yeah, look at that. Hi. So there we go. So now to put in these next compositions, I think what I want to do is I'm going to pick out our red that, and make sure I add that to our list. So there's our base red. And I think I want to come back in here and tidy up things a little bit. I've been trying to debate about how I go about, putting down the sort of base value for the people that are in the foreground. I think we've already decided on that, but what I'm going to use is a light blue. And so a couple things I want to set up as rules for myself, because it's a Gulliver's Travel kind of a thing, and you know, we want to have those sorts of adventures. If I set up an underlying system of rules, like these people in the center panel look a certain way, those ones in the left panel look a certain way, and those ones in the right look a certain way, like the third panel is, you know, the Lilliputians. Now, I don't have a copy of Gulliver's Travels at home, and I don't remember what everybody's described as. Although I do know that one of these races are centaurs. Or no, they're just horses. Well, I haven't drawn a horse thing, so we're going to admit that part. This is why it's my version of the Gulliver Travels. So unfortunately, no horses. Okay, so let's pick. So basically what I'm thinking is let's pick basic colors for each group. So I'm just going to come in and put, do we want, so let's do the first group with a green pallor to their skin. Okay, so our painting their features in is going to be entirely dependent on a green base. And but we'll just start marking this out for ourselves now. And then our next group is going to be a blue base. So I've got the green at 50%. So, and then I'll come back in again, but right now we're just feeling out where things are going to be. So in this case, where a lot of the painting has gone over top of this surface, you can really see how putting the green in makes a difference. All right, and let's put this person's arm back in as though they're wearing a short sleeve shirt. And yeah, just so as I do things, I tend to work on the fly. And so in that, everything isn't already all laid out. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. See if this helps. Let's try one more bump. There we go. Okay, so there's our 3 stages. So we've got our green character starting to come through. I haven't decided on faces yet, but we're just getting down our basic colors at the very least. This one's a lady. So there's our colors coming into play now in our first panel. So I guess this will be a hand in here too. Let's give him, let's reveal his forearms a little bit. Big dude. Mr. Muscles is going to want to show off the guns. All right, so we've got the start of things here. Now the second panel, so that's our light blue, that's for our first panel. And we'll pick from our list of colors, and we'll use this light blue value for the next group, and start painting in just a baseline for where their skin is. And then we're going to pick different outfits and things for them as we go. Now this is our Gulliver character. And we've already established who our Gulliver character is in that third panel, the big guy at the back. So let's do a tan color from our list of colors that we have here. Well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I'll use a base yellow. And the reason that I'm saying that is that I want to distinctly separate him from the individuals that are also in the rest of the story bits, the story moments. I want it to be clear that he's not of them. So here's our next person. Put their hands there as they're revealed. Let's get, and there's this person in the foreground. So now I thought about putting them all in hats, different hats for different groups. But the challenge of that is they have to be distinctly different enough to not be confused with people's hats in the world that we live in. Because, sensitive. Yeah, just making sure my mic's working. Okay. So with that in mind, we've got our 3 base values. So I'm going to come in a little bit here and add something to their features. Hiya, Salty, welcome aboard. So we'll start putting in some of their features. Not too distinctly, but just rough enough that you get a sense of. See, there's why I wanted the different colors to the pallor of their skin, so it doesn't blend right into the background. So when I start, painting in there, these characters that they're distinct enough from our Gulliver character in the page. So there's a little more revealed skin tone for these guys. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over in our list of values over here, and I'm going to pick that base color for Gulliver that we've been using. And the other thing to decide is, should this guy have hair? Because as of yet, I've painted him bald. So I'm putting in a really simplistic expression base there for him. And yeah, we have to decide if he's going to be clothed or bald or what it is. I know we can have him shirtless, but we want to have him with trousers on, let's just say that. So there we go, he's starting to come into play now. So we're doing our foreground characters here. This is all still the same layer. So and we're going to put all these ropes wrapped around them. So it's starting to make a little bit more sense, hopefully. The rough notes only give so much detail. But this way, hopefully the viewer can see something in this that makes a little more coherent sense to them. Yeah, let's put him in a... yeah, we can use... Since these guys have got light blue skin, let's put Gulliver in green pants. And in that way, it distinctly separates him from the cast of characters that are around him. So, talked this morning about what is the major difference of painting in digital as opposed to traditional. And often people use a lot of layers in their approach to digital painting, and I try to use one. I try to if I'm painting. If I'm coloring something that I've already pre-drawn and I'm just going to work with that, then I may not. I may rather do a couple of different effects on layers and things like that. But when I'm painting specifically, I do want to have a set structure of rules for myself that I don't allow myself to deviate from. And so for me, that helps to expedite the process because I can't go back and fiddle about. So I put So I'm going to put some of the yellow in here for the ropes, and then we'll do something to this in a second. But putting the ropes in at this stage here just sort of helps to inform myself that, you know, not to cover them all up, right? And then of course there'll be some across the legs as well. And then we're going to clean up. We're going to go over the heads for our other characters, but we're going to be painting over top of them anyway, so it's okay. What we're doing is just allowing ourselves to have a clear comprehension of, you know, our character who's being foisted along. There we go. So I'm sticking to this limited range of values that I have to use, just to make sure that I keep things consistent. I can't go back and erase stuff. That's one of my rules. Just keep going. Keep on painting. It's an Oyster Head reference. It's a really good band. So here's our, just a quick breakdown of our guy in the background. And start to find a little bit more of his anatomy in here. Find some of these little red pokes that are peeking through and get rid of those. And then get some of that shadowed value in there as well. Find some of those muscles a little clearly, more clearly anyways. So if anybody has questions or thoughts, or they want to make any suggestions or stuff, please feel free to do so. So this is this same guy up here that we're doing in this scenario. Where he is. Kidnapped, captured, hoodwinked. Whatever term you want to use. So I can't do as much detail in some of the things that I may have earlier, just because it's a smaller section. So we're going to zoom once more on just on our guy here. Okay, hopefully that helps people see things a little clearer. All right, so I'm going in some white. And we're just picking, so this light source tends to be this way, so we've got to continue that here with his anatomy here. He's got his ear sticking out, so we'll put that in. Do the same thing on this side of his face there. We know it's there. And we'll come in with some green as well. Just to give a little something more to the features on our guy. We're going to go over that with flesh tone in a minute too. Okay, 49, just making sure. So we're just following through on some of these other colors that we've put in. Let's come in with this guy. I like this value, this light brown, because it's a really good unifier. Helps to define some of the shadow. And because I've got the brush at 50%, it lets me, if the more I go over an area, the more concrete that value is going to be. But if I just go over it once, it kind of puts that sort of a shadow value on the existing colors. So it's a way to have it mix in there. So we'll come in here as well. We've already got a little bit of that already established, but I want to clean up the rope. So how I can do that, maybe trying to think of a tone I can use here. That's going, yeah, there, we'll try this one. That's going to allow me to give a little bit of textural application to the rope. And again, I'm sticking with the same size brush. Now other people would say, you know, use a reduced brush size. And they're not wrong. But I am what we call in the old country a stick-in-the-mud. Who likes to make everything harder for himself, it seems. So I'm just putting some of that texture across the sort of hash mark across the ropes. And I'm going to come over in there again with another one as well. So I'm double tapping each one of these to get it to be more opaque. So it's all about making choices for the colors so that they're distinct enough from one another. You know, so that this character doesn't blend into the background, although he's got a lot of the same values, so that he, you know, you can root him into the same environment, the same world, but he still has to be distinctly closer to us than the background area is. There we go, just getting his arms bound up there. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some hits on the flesh tones as well, just so that we know that they're still peeking through. Does that make sense, folks? I think. So now we're blending his chest in here. So hopefully this is, we'll just, all we have to really do now is to sort of get in these highlighted areas and nice shadowed areas in. Go with that one. No. So just coming in with this, the darkest of the pinks here that I'm using. Just define a little bit some of these features. And we'll come in with the lighter ones and start pulling out some of the features in his face now. There's his big face. And let's come in with that darkest brown. Put in a couple little hopefully that's going to have him expressing, I'm not enjoying this. Help. But we've got him distinctly rooted into his environment and a couple little emphasis points there. There we go. So here's our guy all tied up. And then we'll come in with this brown and start, sorry, I'm on a dark blue. There we go. And we'll deepen that there. This is the same dark blue that's in this background value, so we're going to push this a little farther. Make sure that all those lines around here are tight. There we go. So there, I'm good with this guy. It's pretty tightly placed in there. So let's start doing the people that are carrying him around. What did I decide on? I think it was a light blue for these guys in the foreground. So let's start coming into some of their hands here. Start putting those fingers in. And then we'll get this person's face in here. So if the light source is coming from up there, then we'll start making the appropriate kind of choices for where the light's going to be reflecting on these guys' faces. And this guy, it's going to be up here. Back of that hand. I don't know why I'm doing the middle one, just M. So here's the side of his face and his ear coming into play now. And let's get this guy's hand starting to come in here. Pull that hand back. There we go. So let's go to this deeper blue. Start picking out the so again, this is the underlying color for these guys is blue skin is what we've chosen here. So we're just adding that into the underlying values on their features as we're putting those in. And then this guy's too. So if they're going to have blue skin, I suppose by that they're going to have very dark hair, which is good because it makes them stand out in front of our main character here. Let's go into flesh tone. Jumping all over the colors there, trying to pick the right one. So I'll be pulling this pink back a little bit, but it's just sort of helping to define a little bit more of the features of our guy here. And let's get some of these grays happening here. Temp that pink down. We don't want it to be too prominent. But it's still in there, you know. We know it's in there. But I think maybe this gray is a better value to institute instead. I think so. So here's the three guys coming together now. Let's go to a lighter gray. Pick out some of those little finer details. So it's not the flesh tone, but it sort of gives the same kind of vibe. So put that lighter value under the cheeks. That forehead lightened up. There's our raised nose. And push those values back a little bit. Clearly define our fingers a little bit more. Ow. And I'm going to put that blue back in a second. And hopefully it'll make some of these features pop. Yeah, where is it? There's the light blue up top. There we are. Okay. You know what? We'll do that. Come in with this white. So the opacity is at half. I'll come back in the features on that mouth in a second. I just want to get our joints in here. So there's the top of the most lit up part of this guy's face. There we go. And then we gotta do the same with this crazy kid. So I'm thinking about, and I showed this in this morning's video, the planes of the face. If you're not sure what I'm referring to there, I'm talking about, if you look in a mirror and you look at how shadows work on your face, you realize it's not just this smooth transition of roundness. There's all kinds of different planes, different directions that your features are moving in. You know, this cheek goes out this way, then it cuts down that way, so on and so forth. So we'll come back in with that light blue again. So now when we bring it in and work, nice little unifier on some of these lit up areas, and there we go. Some in there we go. So we've got a good start on these crazy kids and their features. So let's use this middle blue, and we'll come in and we'll start to figure out their hair. Just a sort of underlying value. We're going to do some more, we're going to add some more blues to it, but we're just really figuring out where things are in space right now. And I didn't draw in any of these details with the pencil draft. I'll pull those out so you can see it's just round head. So they can each have their own kind of a haircut. Which means, means we need to make some choices about their necklines and stuff like that. So I think that we need to show a little bit more of the back of this guy's neck. So I'm jumping over to that really dark blue. So we're going to start to shape the head here with where we're putting some of the darker values, some of the shadows. And then here's our crazy longer hair guy. Make this even a little bit bigger if that helps. Is that enough? I hope so. So what I'm using is a chisel brush, like a flat brush, similar to this, right? And doing the whole thing with the one brush size. And now if I had some more, implemented some more smaller brush, or we're going to be able to get a lot more specific, smaller detail. But we started with one brush. We're going to finish this with one brush. Okay, so we've got our kidnapped victim here. I think now that I've got these guys' features in, I want to come in with a little more green in his kit here, just to round him out a little bit more. And we'll come in Whoops. What did I do? I put a mark on my thing. So we'll come in and we'll just value this back a little bit. All right? All right, Chris. So what I'm going to do is take this charcoal color now and start to pick and choose some marks in this area. And then we're also going to do the same thing with some of these lighter values. But the whole idea is that these guys, because they've got a blue pallor to their skin, they're going to have a deep, black type pallor to their hair, but I don't have black in this palette. So we're going to come up with something similar to it. But we can really value out the bottom part. A little shadow under his cheek there. Okay. So it's kind of a weird way to go about it, sure, but this is just us helping us to understand where things are in relationship to one another in the space. So I'm going to come through here and just chop that collar in. Start to define their kit just a little bit better. And we'll put a little bit more value in the back of his neck. So I'm just picking colors from around our composition here. There we go. Okay, so now we get to put the clothes on these guys. Whew, thank goodness. Now, I'm going to continue, because our palette here, we've got a lot of these brown tones throughout the composition. And let's just keep that going throughout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my drawing, and then we're making some choices now for their outfits. And I will add some dimension to them as we go. But all these little choices we make along the way helps us out in our creative journey if we can do it in such a fashion that it makes it easiest for us. All right. So I'm coming in with this much darker brown. Starting to add in some of those folds there. Starting to have a better understanding of the shape of his jacket. If that makes sense to folks. I'm also going to come in and kick this back a little bit. And this value that I'm using, this really dark blue, is the color that we've been using to use as a background root color. So there, I'm just putting in some of those shadows in his sleeves and things like that. Lighten up this part of his arm. So I'm just keep track of the colors that I'm using on this jacket. You know, as I'm going about and defining areas of it. And we're still going to add some more to it. We're going to some good value shifts. And then we're going to have this guy's clothing be different colors as well in order to keep them separated one from the next. So I'm just thinking about the shape of our character here. I'm getting some of these colors moved throughout that we've got up in the arm already. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go pick that really dark brown we used before. Put that in there. Just to push the idea as his second arm is back in there. And we're going to clean this up in a second with this other guy's clothing over top. So. Okay, now we're coming in with some of those highlights. And then blending in between. So I finally got, I don't know, something to chat about anyways. I finally got a DVD collection of Andor Season 1, and wow. That's the word I'm going to use right now. Wow. I mean, boy, does it ever do a good job of giving some real teeth to the Star Wars universe that it takes place in. I say that because I don't think Disney has any idea, as they've taken over Star Wars, how things relate to one another. I really don't. I don't understand quite some of the directions that they go in from one project to the next. So, but the way that Tony Gilroy has put together the Rogue One world in connection to Andor, the Andor in connection, I suppose, to the Rogue One world, it's really, really expansive. Like it gives so much more value in the life journey of some of those characters. Impressive storytelling. It's more about the politics of an oppressive imperial government than it is about, you know, the rebels. The rebels aren't good guys necessarily. They're not. They've all done things they're not proud of. They say it in that Rogue One movie. They say that out loud, and it's like, boy, we get a taste of it in Tony Gilroy's project. So, okay, so we're going to offset this outfit in a yellow. Just to really push the difference between the two in space, right? So I'll have to decide how to go about this guy's kit in a second, but clearly I've been trying to figure out what real color is this outfit going to be. I don't want it to be like a canary yellow, but it's a good base. You know, you got to keep it interesting anyways. So we can get into some let's implement some. This is my sort of replacement for orange, really. This value here. You can see it up in places like the robot dinosaur in the first panel, how it starts to, work in conjunction with this value above it that sort of makes like a little bit of an orangey take on things. Maybe that's because of the relationship of colors around it with the red and stuff like that, but we'll see. There we go. Okay, let's try this flesh tone over here. Hopefully, I never have to do something with this so that people don't just go, "Is his back made of skin?" Ow! We'll come in with this darker yellow. And then we'll hit the white. We'll hit the really good highlight spots. And yeah, that does something. I wanted it to be like a gold, right? Kind of gives me that gold. That's a kind of gold that you could have in a James Bond movie. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm saying. Lighten up spots. Think about where the sun hits. Whatever the light source is, I'm leaning towards it being the sun, but okay, so there's that guy. What do we got next? What are we going to do for this dude's outfit? We already got our dark browns. Let's go right into some dark gray. Right? This is Mr. Important stuff. So we'll give him his kit caboodle here. I believe that's what the kids are calling it nowadays. So we're going to have at least our center panel done. No black in this painting. It's just the black line that from underneath. Come in and fix that little spot there in a minute. So we know he's got this one arm coming through here. There we go. And then his, so I haven't really been putting in the shadows as I'm going through here. I'm just sort of this is giving a sense of how my brain is putting together where he is in space. But the areas that I've left down here to the bottom, this where it's predominantly red is where it's clearly it's shadowed out, right? So if you want, let's look back for a second and see how that is looking all together. So here's where we are so far on the top half of our page, but you can see how, I'll pull the line art out, see how it just sort of leave it in there and it does that nice little distinctly punches of black without us painting with black. But there's our original line drawing, and here's where we're going with our painting, putting in all the details and figuring out all the bits along the way. So I'm taking this really deep blue, clean up this little spot, but I'm also going to put in some of these tended dark areas in this fabric for our guy. Yeah. So now we got this guy coming together. And they're going to paint everybody's pants. So I'm working from top down. And working from top down is sort of, when I'm making decisions about what colors are on what outfits and what characters in this frame, the center frame, I need to think about how it relates to the guys on the left and the right. These guys have blue pallor to their skin. The guys in the first panel will have green pallor to their skin, and the ones, of course, in the last panel have a yellow pallor to their skin. But we're still there's still other little colors pinched into their faces so that, it gives a sense of dimension, but it also gives a sense of connectedness to the other values that are in the picture. So here we are with, and then of course different outfits in different one as well, but these guys are on the whole zoot suit riot, That's their jam. They're flashing those zoot suits around. I'm curious as if anybody that, when I said zoot suit riot, your head went, riot! Hey, how you doing, Les? Welcome back. Okay, so I'm going to kick in another gray, a lighter gray in here now. But this gray is a little bit of a blue pallor to it, so. So it can work really good to unify some of these tones that we've got on his back. So we're just coming in through here and there we go. Yeah, so I want to, so in this first panel where these color combinations have sort of yielded a bit of an orange into the clothing, I've sampled from that, and I'm adding that into the back of his jacket, thinking about how complementary colors can work together, make fun things happen. You know, just keeping it going. I think it's more interesting if there's a lot of colors that are all interacting with each other than it's just, you know, bearing in mind in some compositions that really works when somebody's got a really flat value system going, so that all of these colors in this area are that, like this is just a flat orange, this is a flat red, and you know, there's a lot of benefit to that. There really is. It's just that's not how I'm going about this one today. So just flatten, you know, flattening in some of these colors here that I wanted to build on. See, and this is coming in one more time is where I'm giving better shape to stuff and tying in some of these values together. Happy, happy, joy, joy. And then let's come in with, let's come in with that baby blue again. Just toss that into the mix. Like a grenade. Okay, so here's this guy now. All right, so there's the next part of this character. Now, again, I did this earlier. If it helps you to have clarity, to knock, you know, the overlap colors out, so they're not interfering with your perspective on how the colors are working in the panel, then take them out. But other than that, we're not doing erasing today. Okay, so we've got their different colored jackets. The different colored jackets in this gang. So let's get their pantaloons in here. So I'm going to give this guy dark trousers. Similar to the color of our background, but not entirely, right? So and then we're gonna put some blue into that as well. So it's not just entirely flat. And then our background color is this blue here with a brown mixed in as well. And so I put the brown over top of the blue. We'll give it a little more shape, a little more form. So I hope everybody's having a good day. This is a good day for me. In the last video that I did this morning, I showed a bunch of the large pieces that I'm working on right now for a project. And, you know, all the different medium that I'm putting forward to them to let them have a choice for what do you want the finished project in. And so because I've been working traditionally in this large format, 18 by 24 illustrations, I just needed to switch it up a little bit and, let's do something digital, something big switch. So I'm going back and forth between this dark blue, dark brown to make this crazy tone here. And then I think I'm going to try one more application of that blue over top. It doesn't do much. That's all right. That's all right, team. No problem. So I'm just going to put some highlight colors over here on this side where his body is exposed to the source of light. It's coming this way. You see a bit of this leg here. There we go. There we go there. We'll put that back in like a so. Thumbs up and share. Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool, yeah. Thank you. Oh, thank you. So we're going to do a brown value for this guy's legs, but we're going to have to really give it some depth because we're trying to draw people's attention to this area. So we're not too worried about how focused people are in their pants, their trousers, their pantalon. So you got to think about the underlying frame, where the muscles are in the leg and where, what raised area. I don't know if I said thank you, Liz, but thank you. So as we're drawing this in, we want to make sure that we put the highlights in the right places. Which I think is a song by Merle Haggard. No, it's not, but it'd be cool if it was. Okay, so there's this guy, and then hopefully that's pushed his pants back into the shadow realm. You know what I mean? There we go. So now we've just got to get their shoes on, and I'm just using this charcoal color here, which comes out really as a blue, doesn't it? For his shoes. And let's do our darkest gray over top. Give it a little bit more shape. Not the trousers. Love your word choices. Trousers or pantalon? My word choices are a little bit different. There we go. So now we've got this guy's leg and play. And now we got our final guy and our center panel is done. Happy days. What color do we want? You know what, we can do this a green down here because it's distinctly removed enough from the green that is the skin tone of guys in the first panel and the green that's in our captive's pants. So we can start to put this in as a green. I think it won't be. I think it'll be largely, we'll get a lot of blue in here, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. What's the matter with the word trousers? I didn't, you know. Kit and caboodle, I could see somebody going, kit and caboodle, what's the matter with you? Okay, so there's our start. And pantaloons. Pantaloons aren't actually trousers. Pantaloons is a specific type of pant from maybe 1600s. You know, if you're going to do a comedy bit set in the past, you don't really have to put in, you really don't have to do as much joke writing as just call things what they called them back then. You realize how ridiculous some of the names for things were. Some of those naming conventions were right out there in left field. Like, you know, there's an art to some of that language though that we've lost. Like, you know, everybody denigrates themselves for using the term fart, and there's so much of a more interesting sophistication to break wind. You know, these are the thoughts that keep Chris up at night. Picked up a 1980 Richie Rich comic yesterday. I had the same one, new back in the day. Oh, that's fantastic. Does he use his fancy helicopter in that one? I mean, there's givens. There's always the butler. There's always the dollar. There's always all the, you know, the different tropes that consistently ran through each strip, or each comic as well. But there's always a couple of different things, like he's got to get there fast, or he's going to take the rich helicopter, or whatever it's called. It's a helicopter. I think it's shaped like a dollar sign. Everything's shaped like a dollar sign. So much fun in that. So there we go. Putting in some other values here along the way to mess with this form. So I'm feeling good about this panel being in a fair enough place for hands off. Well, actually, I've got to color this guy's foot. This guy doesn't have color on his feet. What a fanzanoon. That's a Jackie Mason term. It's from, what's a fanzanoon? It's a guy who breaks wind in the bathtub and bites at the bubbles. That was a funny guy. Okay, so there, we've got a good bead on that center panel now. And yeah, I'm pretty good with that. We're going to put a border around everything again, but we got a good bead on these panels here. The center one's pretty, I'm done with that. And then we're going to do a similar thing of people running in fear of the giant dino robot. And, you know, these guys are all charging the giant. So we'll see how the rest of that goes. But I'll get this done for tomorrow. The other images on this page is him running from a universe with scary monsters. And this is him floating in a river of something scary. So, you know, this is my version of Gulliver Travels is the suggestion for today. And that comes from Xanthi. Xanthi. I don't know how to pronounce that. Xanthi. But that's, yeah. So there we go. So there's how far we got today, folks. Well, at least with the streams. So yeah, I don't know. Give digital painting a try. Like, this is, if you want to lay a drawing out for yourself to sort of give yourself a guideline to work from, then do so. You know, and you know, you don't need to have a base color underneath it. Like, here's without the base color, right? But there's the additional depth we get from the red punching through. So, is a hippopotamus really a hippopotamus, or just a cool opotamus? Thanks, Robert. Question for the ages. Great. Okay, gang, that's about it for me. I'm going to sign out. Yeah, if you've got one-page story ideas or suggestions, please feel free to put it in the comments for this video once it's over, and or in the comments on any of the social media posts that I put out on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon. Patreon's like $3 and you get to see all the original art. You know, all of that jazz. But feel free to throw one-page story ideas at me. I'll put them in a book, and keep on trying new things. Keep on experimenting and playing and having fun. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Thank you, Linda, the moderator of the Mostest, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thank you, our people in the chats, and thank you for those that just popped in without saying hello. You're always welcome. That's it for me today, folks. Bye for now.